If you're thinking of getting a bearded dragon, I'll give you some information based on my experience so you can decide if a bearded dragon is the right pet for you. This is Ness, and I've had him for about 3 years. One of the pros of the bearded dragons is that they're very docile and laid back. I've heard people say that they are considered the puppy dogs of the domestic reptile world, so they do make good pets for children. But like any other animal, like dogs, cats, guinea pigs, and bunnies, there's always a risk of getting bit. We interacted with Ness from day one, so he's very used to us being around him. He knows our voice. He's very used to being petted. We hold him, we carry him around. So if you interact with them on a daily basis, they get used to you pretty quick. And like I said, they're very docile. So, they just sit there. You put them on your shoulder and they just, that you can walk around and they're just on your shoulder. They do need a 40-gallon tank and lamps and some lamps for lights. I recommend purchasing a 40-gallon tank, even if they're babies, because if you end up buying, you can get a smaller tank, but once they get older, you will need to upgrade to a 40-gallon tank. And if you just go ahead and buy the 40-gallon tank, up front, then you won't have to spend extra money buying a bigger tank. Most pet stores, they sell these tanks with all of the accessories, so which also saves you money because you don't have to buy everything they need separately. The only item that is not included with some of these tanks is an ornament that they need so they can climb on to get closer to the lamp's heat. It can be like a tree-like ornament that is used for fish tanks. I think those are less expensive than getting the ones that they sell specially for reptiles. Bearded dragons need to be kept in a dry and hot environment. The lamps that they sell for them, they simulate the sunlight, and they need that light anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. So I recommend getting an auto light timer. That way you can program the lights to go on and off when needed. And this also comes in handy if you're going out for the weekend or if you're going on vacation for a week or so. They do need a heat lamp during the winter. It's just a lamp that has a red bulb. It really, as it says, a heat lamp. It only provides heat, so it doesn't really disturb their sleep. And I would also recommend getting an auto light timer for this. That way, once the regular lights go off, the heat lamp comes on, and vice versa. So what do bearded dragons eat? Their main meal are live crickets. That was kind of a deal breaker for me, and this is why. Crickets are not expensive. You can purchase them at the pet store. You can even purchase them online. They do have a very short lifespan, so you'll need to purchase anywhere from 100 to 200 crickets at a time, depending on the size of your bearded dragon. And of course, most likely half of them will die within a week. Crickets require food and water. And I think this is where it can be a little bit expensive. There's special foods and water for crickets. You don't want to place a bowl of water because they can drown. The water that they use it's like a jello. It's like a just jello-like substance. It does get dry within several days, but you could add more of the jello, or add a small amount of water to rehydrate it. You would also need to purchase a large container that is deep enough so they won't jump out. I will need to be cleaned once a week because they are very stinky. So when they're alive, they're stinky. So you can imagine what they smell like when they're dead. If you purchase the large crickets, half of them will die within a week. Like I mentioned, they are loud. If you get medium-sized crickets, they may stay alive a little bit longer, but they also can be loud. Smaller crickets have a longer lifespan, but if your bearded dragon is an adult, they will need to consume more crickets, so you would need to buy more. And that means more cleaning, more food, more water, etc. They do like greens, and by greens I mean romaine lettuce, an example. They can also eat freeze-dried peas and worms. For some reason, my bearded dragon stopped eating live crickets. I don't know why. Just one day, he just stopped. He stopped chasing them. So what I did was I got some dried crickets off of Amazon, and he seems to enjoy those. So he eats the freeze-dried peas, the worms, the romaine lettuce, and the dried crickets. That's his diet. I cannot speak for other bearded dragons. I don't know if they would like it. Something that you can introduce to them. You know, once you get them, you can start introducing them to some lettuce, to some little worms, and you know, maybe they'll like it, maybe they don't. But again, if they do stop eating live crickets for some reason, then you can get the dried ones, and like I said, he enjoys it. Another thing I wanted to mention is it is okay to use newspapers. As you can see, I use newspapers, and I use newspapers since he was a baby. I don't know about sand. I was told that you should not use sand when they're babies. So I just got him used to the newspaper, and it's easy cleanup. And it's not smelly, it's not messy. I cannot say how good or how bad sand is because I've never used it, so I cannot speak intelligently on the subject. But I mean, you can do some research online, or the people at the pet store, they can give you some more information. So another note is, if you want to know if they're male or female, if you get one that's a baby, you need to wait till he gets a little bit older because they're too small. But once they're about medium size, what you can do is you actually lift up their tail, and the male will have 2 oval-sized balls on each side of his tail, and the female will have just one in the middle. So that's how you can tell if they're male or female, if that's something that you want to do. So other than that, I think that's it. Again, this is all based from my experience. I think they're great pets. They're cute. They're docile. I think they're just great. So I hope this information was helpful, and thank you so much for watching.